Welcome students, welcome to the lecture number 10 of MySQL revision tool. Okay, so today we are going to start a new topic in our SQL revision tool, and the name of the topic is functions in SQL. Okay, so what are basically functions? Functions are basically some predefined code that is already present in SQL, and some name is assigned to that predefined code. Okay, as I told you that functions are basically some predefined code which is present in SQL and a name is given to that predefined code. Okay, so whenever we want that the work of that predefined code, then we will use the name of that code. So basically functions in SQL are nothing else but the predefined code which is basically prepared for performing a particular work. Okay, so you can write down the definition of the function. Just wait. Okay, functions are the predefined code present in SQL for performing a specific work. Okay, and a name is given to that code and is called as function name. So whenever you require that code, then you have to call or invoke the function by writing its function name. Okay, so this is a short description about the functions. That functions are nothing else but the predefined codes. Okay, functions are the predefined codes present in SQL for performing a specific work. Okay, so there are different works, and for each of the work, some function, some predefined code is present, and a name is given to that code and is called as function name. So each and every code has some name, and that name is called as the name of the function. Okay, so whenever you require that code, then we have to call or invoke. Call or invoke means the same thing. Okay, so you have to call or invoke the function by writing its function name. Right, so I think the definition is clear to you that function is nothing else but the predefined code that is already present in the SQL. Okay, now let me give you some example also. You have used the aggregate functions. All right, there are aggregate functions like avg, sum, count, max, min. So what are they? What are the work of these functions? Let's explain the working of a particular function, that is max. The working of the max is to find the maximum value among the values given to him. Okay, so we will provide the set of values to the max function, and max function automatically find the highest value among those set of values and gives me the highest value as a result. Okay, so the code for finding the highest is already predefined in SQL, and the name to that code is given as max. Okay, so whenever we want to find the maximum value, then we use that function name. So let us see that. Okay, so we are discussing about the functions in SQL. The functions in SQL is basically divided into two categories. The first one is a single row function, or we can call it as scalar function, and the other one is the multiple row functions, or we can call it as group functions. So basically the functions in SQL is divided into these two categories, right? So let me discuss one by one all the categories. First I am going to discuss about the multiple row function category. So what is this multiple row function? The definition is that the multiple row function, just wait, the multiple row function works with data of multiple rows, okay, at a time, and returns the aggregate value. I think that you remember about the aggregate functions, right? So if we write any aggregate function like select max bracket, within bracket I put salary, okay, then what will happen? You know that we have used the many aggregate functions, like we write select max and then we will write salary, okay, from employee, then we simply write group by, suppose we return department, okay. So what will happen? First, the data of the table is divided into small groups, and each groups are created on the basis of the department name. So in this case, the sales department records are stored in the separate group, finance department employees records get stored in the separate group, accounts department employees record get stored in the separate group. So different groups are created for each department, okay. So once all the groups are created, and each groups contain obviously either one or multiple records, right? Each group contains either one or multiple records. So multiple row functions work with data of multiple rows. In each group there are multiple rows, okay. So the multiple row functions basically work on the groups created by the group by clause, because in each group we have multiple rows. So what it will do, that function will work on each group at a time and returns an aggregate value. So in this case it will work on each and every group. So suppose it works on the first sales group and find the maximum salary of that sales group. Then it works on another group, that is suppose finance group, and find the maximum value from the finance group. So it will take each group one by one and consider all the rows present in that group and find an aggregate value for the user, right? So these are basically aggregate functions. These are basically multiple row functions. So for example of multiple row functions are, that is sum, avg, max, min, count, star. We have already studied all these functions under the aggregate functions category, right? So basically these 5 functions, there are many more functions in the aggregate function category, but as per our inverse syllabus we have only these 5 categories with us, okay. So these 5 are basically multiple row function, or we can say that aggregate functions are the multiple row functions, okay. So I think that you are clear that the multiple row functions basically work on the groups, right? Because the groups contains multiple records. So this is basically the multiple row function. Now let's move to the next category, that is single row function. So what this single row function will do, okay, just wait, this is not multiple, this is a single row, okay. So there is a slight problem in the definition. So single row function works with the single row at a time and returns result for every row of a queried table. So what this single function will do, they will work on each and every row present in the table. That is, they will consider each and every row present in the table, and then they will give you the result for each and every queried table. Suppose, let me tell you an example. As you know that if we don't create group by, okay, so basically single row functions works on a single row of a table at a time, okay. We will see some examples also, so that this part is more clear to you. But remember one thing, whenever we apply any single row function, this will consider each and every row of the table and whatever be the testing criteria for it, it will do it on each and every row present in the table. Okay, so this will not work on a group. The main purpose of this single row function is that they will work on each and every row present in the table at a time, right? So let us see some example of it, and then I think that this definition is more clear to you. So we have to start the single row functions. In our syllabus, under single row function, we have math function with us, text functions with us, and the date functions with us. Okay, so in single row function, we have to learn about these three categories. Now, first begin with the math function. So we have to learn about some math functions. So the first math function is power. Okay, so what this function will do for us, the power function returns the value of a number raised to the power of another number. So I think that you know that when we write like 3 raised to the power of 2. Okay, so what we will get in this case, if we write this, then we will multiply 3 2 times. Okay, and we will get the answer as 9. So basically this is a simple calculation, that's why I performed over here. But suppose if it is 3 raised to power 9 or 4 raised to power 8, then it is a very long calculation. So mathematical function, that is power, is basically used for performing this work. So remember one thing, this number which we have written downward, this is called as the base. Okay, this is called as the base, right? And this 2 is called as the exponent, right? This 2 is called as the exponent. So the power function returns the value of a number raised to the power of another number. So it is finding me the value of a number which is raised to the power of another number. So let me see the syntax of this. First we have to, the syntax is, we have to write the function name, that is power, and within bracket we have to write two things. The first one is the base, okay, and the second one is the exponent, right? So we have to write, the first one is the base and second one is the exponent. So for example, if you want to write that 3 to power 4, okay, you want to find the result of 3 raised to power 4, then what will you do? You will write it like this, that power within the brackets 3 comma 4. Why? Because 3 is the base and 4 is the power or exponent. So 3 comma 4. Okay, so let us do practically this function also. So I'm just opening the Mysql from, okay, and then I will put some password, right, use company, then now. So first I have to test this power function. So I have written select power, suppose 3 comma 4. So as there is no table is required, so we will simply end this command over here. So you can see that when we write the select power 3 comma 4, then we will get the result as 81, right? So in this way you can use the table name, and if we are considering a particular table, then obviously we have to write that from the name of the table, and in this case we have to include the some field of that table. So if a particular field of the table is required in the function, then only we specify the name of the table. Okay, but right now we are just doing a simple calculation, so no table is required. So this is basically the power function. Now let's move to the next function that of mathematical category, that is mod. So what this mod function will do, the mod function returns the remainder when a number is divided by its divisor. So suppose if we are dividing 7 by 2, okay, so we are dividing 7 by 2, so 3 2s are 6, okay, so we divided by 6 and we will get the answer remainder as 1. So in this calculation, if you are not going into the decimal part, then this 3 is called as the quotient and this 1 is called as the remainder. Okay. So mod function will help us to find the remainder. So let us see the working of this function also. Select mod 7 comma 2. You can see that we are getting the remainder as 1, and similarly over here you can watch that when we divide 7 by 2 we are getting the remainder as 1. So mod function will give us the remainder, right? Now after the mod function, the next category of the mathematical function is round. Okay, so now we are going to learn about the round function. The round function rounds up a number. Okay, round function rounds a number to a specified number of decimal places. Okay, so how this round function will work, let me explain you. Suppose you have written round and 23.456 comma 2. So what will be the answer of this query? You know that over here it is written 2. So it means after decimal we require 2 digits. Okay, so after decimal we require 2 digits. So the after decimal points the 2 digits are 4 and 5. Okay, so we will not make any use these 2 digits right now. What we will do, because after decimal we want 2 digits, so we will use this third digit. Okay, we will use this third digit for rounding of the number. Because why we don't use the first 2 digits of the after the decimal? Because as it is written 2, so we require the 2 digits after the decimal. That's why we round off on the basis of the third digit. So if the number is greater than or equal to 5, then 1 is added to the previous number, and after that all numbers are removed. So what will be the result over here? 23.46. Why 6? Because you can see that this is the number 6. Okay, so 6 is greater than 5, so that's why this 6 is removed from the number and 1 is added to the previous number, that is 5, and we get the result as 23.46. Let me give you some more example of this. Suppose we have written round 23.456 comma 1. Now this time I have written 1. So it means after decimal how many digits I want? I want just 1 digit. So what I will do, I will look at the second digit, that whether that digit is greater than or equal to 5 or less than 5. Right now the digit is equal to 5, so obviously the data after this 4, that is 5 and 6, is removed and 1 is added to 4. Why 1 is added to 4? Because we are rounding off on the basis of 5 and the 5 is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, so when the number is greater than or equal to 5, then we add 1 to the previous number, right? So we are getting the result as 23.46, right? Sorry, 46 not, is 23.5. Alright, let's do one more question. Round 23.456 comma 0. Now we have put 0 over here. Now what does it mean if we put 0? You can see that 0 means after decimal we don't want any digit. After decimal we don't want any digit. Then what will happen? It will consider the number immediately after the decimal point. Okay, so the number immediately after the decimal point is 4. So as you know that I have told you, if the number is greater than or equal to 5, then 1 is added to the previous number. But if the number is not greater than or equal to 5, or we can say if it is less than 5, then nothing will be added to the previous number and all the data will be round off. So in this case we get the answer as 23. Okay, because this is 4, so 4 is not greater than or equal to 5, so that's why all these numbers are removed and nothing will be added in 3. But suppose if the number is like this, 23.456, sorry, let's take it's 546 comma 0. Okay, so if this is the number, then what will happen? As it is written 0, so 0 means after decimal we don't want any digit. Okay, so what we will do, we will consider the number immediately after the decimal, that is 5. Okay, so 5 is greater than or equal to 5, so obviously the number is removed but 1 is added to the previous number, that is 3. So in this case we will get the answer as 24. Okay, and suppose we have written round 23.456 comma minus 1. Okay, so now the data is minus 1. Now what will happen if it is minus 1? Let me show you. Minus 1 means we are not considering the data after the decimal. We simply ignore the data which is written after the decimal. Okay, we don't have to do anything with that data. Now it is written minus 1, so basically we have to consider the data before the decimal place. And what we have to do, suppose it is written 23.456. Okay, so it is written 23.456, right? So as it is written minus 1, so we simply ignore the data which is written after the decimal point. Now what we have to do, as it is minus 1, so we have to make one digit before the decimal place to 0. Okay, so the 3 is converted to 0, and the number which we are converting in 0, if that number is greater than or equal to 5, then 1 is added to the previous number. But if that number is not greater than or equal to 5, then nothing will be added to the previous number, and that number will be taken as it is. So in this case we will get the answer as 20. Okay, so in this case our answer will be 20. Now suppose if we have written like this, round 26.456 comma minus 1, then what will happen? So now it is 26. Okay, so it's 26 point. Okay, so now it is 26.456, right? So now you can see that over here it is written minus 1, so simply we ignore the data which is written after the decimal point. Okay, and we will consider only the data which is written before the decimal point. So it is written minus 1, so first we have to reduce the value of the first data after the before the decimal to 0. Okay, so the 6 will be reduced to 0, but as 6 is greater than 5, so we will add 1 to this, the previous data, that is 2, and when we add 1 to 2 we will get 3. So in this case we will get the answer as 30. Okay, we will get the answer as 30. Right? So let us test all these cases one by one in our Mysql. Okay, so the first one is select round 23.456 comma 2. Okay, so first case is this. So you can see that we are getting the answer as 23.46. So over here 23.46. Okay, and if we reduce this number by 1, then we get the answer as 23.5. Let's see it. So you can see that over here we are getting the answer as 23.5. Okay, and suppose if we change this 1 to 0. Okay, so we are testing the third case over. Okay, so in this case we get the answer as 23. You can see that when we use 0, then our answer is 23. Now let's test 23.546 comma 0. So 23.546 comma 0. Let's see what will be the answer. The answer is 24. You can see that the over here answer is also 24. Okay, so because it is 0, so we don't have to consider any data after the decimal, but the data which is given immediately after the decimal will be considered for rounding off. So it is 5, and we know that greater than or equal to 5, we have to add 1 to the previous number. So 1 is added to this 3, and we get the number as 24. Okay, let us test the some other conditions also, other cases also, which we have specified over here. So we have done till now 23.546. Let's do this question, this point also. 23.456 minus 1. Okay. So you can see that we are getting the answer as 20. Similarly, as we have solved over here also. And suppose if we have written in spite of this 23, we have written 26, then let's see what will be the answer. The answer will be 30. Okay. So let's do one more thing. Round 246.66 comma minus 2. Okay, so over here we have written minus 2. So what will happen if it is written minus 2? Okay, the answer will be 200. So minus 2 means we have to reduce two numbers before the decimal to 0. So what we have done, we have changed this 6 to 0, we have changed this 4 to 0, and you know the last number, that is 4, that is less than 5. So that's why nothing will be added to the number 2, and that number will be noted down as it is. So that's why we are getting 200 as an answer. But suppose if we have written like this, in spite of 246, if we have written like 264, then what will happen? So now the result changes to 300. Okay. So because 4 reduced to 0, 6 also reduced to 0, but the last we have to reduce 6 to 0 na. So as 6 is greater than 5, that's why 1 is added to 3, and we are getting the answer as 300. Okay. So just remember one thing, that over here it is written, let me explain you one more time. Suppose if it is written 163.46, whatever is written, and over here it is written minus 2. Okay, minus 2. So what will happen? We basically don't consider the data after the decimal. Okay, and it is written minus 2, so obviously we have to reduce these two numbers before the decimal to 0. Okay, so what will happen? This 3 becomes 0. Okay, this 6 also becomes 0. Okay, and then we have 1. So now the last digit data which we have turned to 0 is 6, which we turn to 0 is 6. As 6 is greater than 5, so that's why 1 is added to this one number, and we are getting the answer as 2. Okay, so 1 is added to this, and we are getting the answer as 2. So that's where we are getting 200. But suppose if the number is written as let me do over here 136.4, and suppose comma minus 2 is written, right? So obviously we will ignore the data after the decimal part, and as it is written minus 2, so we have to reduce 2 digits before the decimal to 0. So 6 is converted to 0. Okay, and after that 3 is also converted to 0. All right, and then as you know, as you see that 3 is basically less than 5. Okay, 3 is basically less than 5. So nothing will be added to the previous number, and 1 is noted down as it is. So the answer is 100 over here. Okay, so I hope you are clear with the round function. So these are the 3 mathematical functions which we have to learn under the mathematical function category, right? So let us do some other category. So the next category is basically text functions. Okay, so what are these text functions? The first text function is ucase and upper, and the purpose of this function is that this function converts a string to uppercase, right? So let us execute the working of this function. Suppose if I return like select ename from employee. Okay, so when I write this command, I get the names of all the employees. But suppose if I want that the names of all employees is shown to me in capital letters. Okay, suppose I want that the name of all the employees should be shown to me in capital letters. So we have a function named as ucase and upper for that. So if we write like this, select upper, and within brackets if we write ename from employee, then what will happen? We see all the names in capital letters. Okay, so select ucase ename from employee. So you can see that both these functions work in a same way. Ucase also gives you all the names of all employees in capital letters. Similarly, upper also gives you names of all employees in capital letters. So we have ucase and upper function for us, and they basically used to convert the data to the capital letters. Then the other one is lcase and lower. So this function, what will they do? They will convert a string to the lower case. Okay, so simple is that in spite of this ucase, if I write lcase, so what will it do? It will view the names of all the employees in small letters. Okay, so these are the two text functions, that is lcase and ucase, or upper or lower we can say it. Now the next text function is, we have mid, substring and substr. These three functions works in the same manner. So you don't have to confuse if it is given substr, substring, mid. If any of these three functions will be given to you, then the working will be the same. Okay, so what is the working of this function? That this function extracts some characters from a string. So what this function will do, this function will extract a particular portion of a data from the given string. And the syntax is that you have to specify the string first. Okay, yes, you have to write the string. String means the main string from which you want to extract the data. And then the starting position means you have to specify the position number from where you want to extract the data, and length means how many number of characters you want to extract. Okay, so string is basically the main string from which you want to extract the data. Start is basically the position number from where you want to extract the data, from where you want to do the extraction of data, and length is that how many number of characters you want to obtain. And remember two important things, that in case of SQL, the first position of the string is always 1. Okay, as we know that we have already learned about the Python. Okay, in Python, whenever a string is used, the first position is always 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. In this way the position goes. But in case of SQL, remember one thing, the first position is always 1. So first position is not 0. So when you are working in SQL, then you have to consider the first position as 1. And the length, whatever you want going to give the length must be a positive. If you put length negative, then nothing will be happen. Okay, so let us do this question. Suppose we have written select, and we can use any of the function. So if I use mid, okay, first I have to give the data. Suppose I have given informatics. Okay, this is my first data, and then I will write that obtain the data from the third number of position, and how many characters I want? I want 6 characters. Okay, so I have written a mid function, and in that function I have given the data as informatics, and after that I have written 3, then it means I want the data from the third position. And how many characters I required? From the third position I want 6 characters. So let me press enter. So you can see that we are getting format. So how we are getting format? Let me explain you. Okay, so over here the data is informatics. Okay, and if we consider the position starts at 1, then it means I get first position, N gets second position, and F gets the third position. So we want to extract the data from the third position. So F is basically the starting of the third position, and from there how many characters we want to retrieve? 6 characters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's why format is given you as the answer. Okay. And let me tell you one thing, as I told you, these all functions are same. So if in spite of mid I write substring, so this will also do the same function, that is format. And in spite of substring, if I write substr, then obviously we will get the same result, that is format. Okay, so you have to remember one thing, that these 3 functions work in the same manner. And what is the work of these functions? They will extract some characters from a string. Okay, so for that you have to specify the main string, the starting position from where you want to extract the characters, and the length is how many characters you want to extract. And remember one thing, in case of string the starting position is always 1, right? And next function is length. So length function, what this work, the length function counts the number of characters in the given string. Okay, so it will basically count the number of characters in the given string, right? So let me do this question also. Select length, and within the brackets I put suppose Kashish. Okay, so when I press enter I will get 7. Why 7? Because if you see over here, in the word Kashish there are 7 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what this function will do, it will count the number of characters in the given string and just give it to me. Okay, so this is the basic function of the length function. After that we have a function named as left and right. So what is the purpose of this left and right function? This function extract specified number of characters from right side in case of right function, and from left side in case of left function. So what this function will do, they will extract characters. If we use the left function, then it will extract character from the left side of the string. But if we use the right function, then it will extract character from the right side of the string. Okay, so let me suppose if I write select left Kashish comma if we write 5. Okay, so what it will do, it will remove the first, it will extract the first 5 characters from the left side of the data. And when we extract first 5 characters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we will get the answer as Kashi. Okay, similarly if we want to apply from right side, so what we have to do, in spite of this less function, we will specify right. Okay, so it will extract 5 characters from the right side of the string. So when I press enter I will get SHISH, because from the right side of the string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are the 5 characters. Okay, so you can see that the left function basically extracts specified number of characters from left of the string, whereas right function will extract the specified number of characters from the right side of the string. Okay, so that's all for today. So we are ending our session now. In the next session we will learn about some more text function and the last category of the function, that is date and time, right? So thank you very much and have a nice day.